Hey, it's Ken Lewis. Welcome to Mixing Night. Oh, it's gonna be a great show. It's been a crazy run up. 8 p.m. in New York City right now. It's just been crazy around here. The show prep has been really intense. We're gonna bring you some crazy stuff tonight. I'm gonna open up the show with a sprint mix from a new artist named GoaTBlud out of Texas. You will definitely recognize his voice if you're a fan of the show. He recently changed his artist name recently. I'm going to be mixing a song called Diablo from him that Katalyst just produced. Tons of Q&A tonight. My interview is going to be around 8:30 for about maybe 15 minutes. It's going to be with Henny Tha Bizness. Amazing stuff coming up. Most of my talk with him, I think, is going to be about future tech. Because he actually got me into using the iPad as a creative device, which before that I was only playing games on the shit. So I think that's going to be a really exciting talk. That's going to be around 8:30. What else we got? Marcus Manderson, the Mixing Night Man of Mystery, is bringing you another episode. I'm not sure what tonight's episode is, but we'll know when we get there. Ear training tonight's going to be out of phase ear training, or not necessarily out of phase ear training, more like which is more in phase, which is less in phase, or which is slightly out of phase and which is in phase. It's going to be, some things are going to be really obvious, some things are going to be not obvious at all. Some things are going to be mono signals that are two sounds on top of each other, so it's not a stereo thing. Do these two sounds work better with this phase or that phase? So it's going to be a lot of challenging stuff coming up. And then a lot of the stuff that I did to create that I'm going to show you later on as examples, so that you can see exactly how I deal with phase coherency when I mix, which is a lot, probably way more than you would think. And I'm going to show you several different things to look out for, several different techniques to correct phase, and to check if your phase even needs correction. So that's coming up. The ear training is going to be about 9 o'clock, and then I'm going to do some examples after that. I'm going to play some stuff from Ajay Friese, who his dad Lonn Friese won one of the giveaways on Mixing Night. They won the UVI Falcon II, and Lonn gave it to Ajay, and Ajay made a whole song out of it and sent it to me. And it's, when people send you stuff, you just never know how it's going to be. And so I listened to Ajay's thing, I was like, holy shit, that was amazing. So I'm going to play that tonight. And then I'm going to play you some stuff from The Doors. I stealthily acquired some Doors original multi-tracks. I don't think they're the source multi-tracks. I think they're stemmed out, but they're amazing, and it's going to be a really cool insight into that. And I'm going to close with a sprint mix. I'm going to let you guys pick what I do. And what else is going on? So a lot of Q&A. Let me get right into this sprint mix. If you don't know what sprint mixing is, this is like 10 minutes spent on the best rough mix of your life. If your most important client is sitting right next to you waiting to work, and you're on the clock, and he's waiting for, or she is waiting for you to get your shit together, a great rough mix for them to sing to, or something like that, or jingles. I've made an entire jingle, full band, recorded and mixed in 90 minutes for a Ford National spot. So this stuff is really applicable to the real world. And for me also, this is how I start mixes when I'm getting a major label mix, or indie, or something that we produced. I don't go this fast, but my first half an hour, almost everything is somewhere in the mix audible, listenable, so that everything is interacting with each other, and you're actually mixing instead of just adding another layer and adding another layer. And that's not really mixing. Everything affects everything else in mixing. So, and the most important thing about mixing is definitely balances, which sprint mixing teaches you to forget about the tech and listen to the song, and focus mainly on what's coming out of the speakers, and not what fancy plugins that you can use on it. So I haven't sprint mixed this song. I've barely worked on it at all. So I hope it goes well. It's a great song. I think you guys are going to love it. So this is GoaTBlud, Diablo, brand new, produced by Katalyst. And shit, I got to put 10 minutes on the clock and put my money where my mouth is, don't I? Jesus. All right. 10 minutes on the clock. Let me get my mixing night mask on. I had one custom mask made for us. All right. 10 minutes. Let's go. See if I can get my heavy metal lights on. I've got to have some more inspiration. There we go. Now we're talking. Let's fucking mix.
I put my faith in Diablo. Faith in Diablo. You wasting time on you.
So, just so you know, when I stemmed this whole song out, so I basically stemmed out the entire mix, fully finished mix. Then I sent it to Dominic, and I told him to completely randomize the stems. So if you were looking at my stemmed out mix, it would be even faders, and you can already see the hodgepodge that I'm getting into trying to find my balances. And I only got 6 minutes left, so I got to start making some more decisions here.
Sippin' Henny, fucking shorty, this some more 3. You know everything, but you could never know me. Cause it's like I'm living fast at the
slow speed. I'ma leave it in the past if it feel left. I'ma check it at the door before we proceed. 6-7 with a home team. I ain't beefing with a dummy, but it's OG. Nah, I don't need a home, what the hoes need. Sippin' Henny, fucking shorty, this some more 3. You know everything, but you can never know me. Cause it's like I'm living fast at a slow speed. I'ma leave it in the past if it feel left. I'ma check it at the door before we proceed. 6-7 with a home team. I ain't beefing with a dummy, where it's OG. Nah, I don't need a home, what the hoes need. Sippin' Henny, fucking shorty, this some more 3. You know everything, but you can never know me. Cause it's like I'm living fast at a slow speed. I'ma leave it in the past if it feel left. I'ma check it at the door before we proceed. I need my time. I need my time with you, I can't lie, bitch. I be going crazy when we don't fuck. So that you be out of line, but I like it. Ain't no stuff. Tell me don't nothing I can't. Tell me don't fuck her over right there. Got me right here rolling on while she dance. She a little tipsy, hope she don't trip. I put my faith in Diablo. I need my time. I need my. I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the shit where the find you. I'll be wasting time on you. I'll be wasting time on you. I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the shit where the find you.
That's me. That's completely untuned vocals, and I will show you the layers later on if I remember. Dumb, if you can remind me to show that. So this is going to be like a no-tech night.
Time on with me. I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the shit where the find you. I'll be wasting Diablo. I put my faith in Diablo. Sippin' Henny, fucking shorty, this some more 3. You know everything, but you can never know me. Cause it's like I'm living fast at a slow speed. I'ma leave it in the past if it feel left. I'ma check it at the door before we proceed. I need my time with you, I can't lie, bitch. I be going crazy when we don't fuck. So that you be out of line, but I like it. Ain't no safety on you, you stuck. Tell me don't change for nothing I can't. Tell me don't fuck her over right there. Got me right here rolling on while she dance. She a little tipsy, hope she don't trip. I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the shit where the find you. I'll be wasting time on you. I'll be wasting time on you. I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the shit where the find you. I'll be wasting time on you. But I put my faith in Diablo. Running and made it through all for the glory and none for the goal. I pray you make it to your destination through all of your obstacles, don't ever fall. I know the stories ain't all that they telling you. I know some more they just never been told. I got a hand at this saying she find me wherever I go. Yeah, yeah. I know it's something inside me that push me and pull me to places it want me to be. I know it's people who watching want me to act like exactly what they wanna see. I got the vision, the room is divided, majority silent, they waiting to see. You gon' regret ever lighting this fire, and you gon' regret ever playing with me, so quit playing with me. I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the shit where to find you. I'll be wasting time on you. I'll be wasting time on.
Well, I'm not sure why that fed back, but hopefully it didn't blow anybody's ears out. Alright, stop. Okay. I wasn't just going to leave this running, since it's already mixed, and you pretty much heard it. So that's GoaTBlud Diablo. Brand fucking new. We're hoping to get some good licensing with that. And beyond that, we'll see what happens. So on the chat roll, who knows who that was in a previous lifetime? I'm sure some of you guys do. Dominic, don't spoil it for everybody. Let's get to I got a little bit of time before I got to get to Henny. So Henny Tha Bizness is going to be at 8:30 via Skype. I'm going to do a live interview with him for about 15 minutes. All future tech stuff. If you're just tuning in, I'm Ken Lewis. This is Mixing Night. For the next almost 2 hours, we're going to be mixing and doing DAW examples and telling stories and all kinds of fun studio nerd shit. All the stuff I love. All right, Q&A. Cole asks, hey Ken, how did you break into the industry? What were some key points in your career that led you to where you are today? Definitely moving to New York City was a big one. I'm born and raised in Cincinnati, went to school in Boston at Berkeley. Berkeley was a great stepping stone for me. Moving to New York City, I think, was super important. Meeting Kanye has been unbelievable over the years. Meeting BTS has been unbelievable over the years. And, there's definitely certain key artists kind of in the path that when I first met them weren't that big of a deal at all. When I first started working with Kanye, it was 2002. Not many people knew him. BTS, I mixed most of their first album before anybody knew who they were. So always do your best work. All right, Mohammed Anif asks, hey Ken, what do you start mixing first in your session? Oh, I gotta... Ken, what do you start mixing first in your session? Usually what I do first is I listen to the rough mix a bunch of times, and then let me get the broadcast lights back. Boom. Now you can see me. Usually I start with the rough mix. I listen to the rough mix maybe 3-4 times until I get a real vibe for what the song is that I'm mixing. And then the rough mix usually goes away. I might listen back to it occasionally. And then I usually start with drums. Whatever is going to give me the most fast impact. Which is usually drums. But sometimes it's, the sample that they got going. But again, everything gets into the mix very fast. All right. Steve Decay asks, hey Ken, mastering by stems or full stereo mix? Never by stems. Anytime a mastering engineer asks for stems, I tell my clients to run the other direction. I've had mastering engineers tell me that, that's because my mixes are major label quality and world class, and and sometimes if your mixes aren't that good, stems can really help a mastering engineer. I don't know. I've never heard. I don't like stems. It's my mix. It shouldn't be much to master. Durs asks, hey Ken, how do you listen for phase and what tools do you use to fix such issues? Oh, Durs, you were in for a great episode. There's going to be a lot of cool shit about phase coherency, what to listen for, how to fix it, both in stereo tracks and multiple microphones on a single source, and multiple different instruments that aren't supposed to go together that shouldn't really affect phase but do. Hey, did you guys know that the YouTube Mixing Night channel that you're currently watching Mixing Night on just hit 3,000 subscribers, and we just launched in late March, early April. So thank you very, very much for all of the support. That's really super huge. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? I do a free show. Come on, click that sub button and set your reminders for next week, and then you don't have to worry about anything. It will you don't have to worry about anything. It will email you automatically. Let's see. Okay. Diego asks, do you think acoustic treatment is more important than gear when mixing? And do you think great mixes can be done in small rooms? Diego, acoustic treatment is definitely more important than gear, because if your room is, for instance, really reverberant or has standing waves in it or something, you can have the best speakers in front of you in the world, and they're just not going to work for you. So, I think you got to spend a little time and money. I think time is the more crucial factor in getting your room great. If you don't have a lot of money, there's a whole lot of do-it-yourself ways to treat your room. And so jump on YouTube and find them. And the other half of that was, do you think great mixes can be done in small rooms? Absolutely. I mean, this room is not very big at all. And, sans the SSL, I mixed a BTS single in a beach house with a pair of MTMs and my Audi's headphones and my cylinder Mac. It's knowing your system is the most important thing. And knowing your speakers and what they're telling you. The Audis take the room out of the equation, so it was easy to mix that stuff with that. Okay, got Henny in 9 minutes. All right, let's see. Diamors asks, how do you create a vintage sound on a low budget? Man, I wish I had a bit more time to prep this. So, if anybody knows how to use Match EQ, I wonder. I might be able to cook something up. Hang on. Nope.
I put my faith in Diablo.
Okay, I'm going to show this to you real quick, if I can get it to work. So what you can do is you can use Match EQ to, if you want to make something sound vintage or sample, I think is what you're really getting at. So a lot of people ask me the same question. How do you make things sound like samples? How do you make things sound more vintage, etc.? Well, there's a few ways to do that. Filters and distortion are probably the two main ones. That's probably how I dialed in this vocal distortion on this.
I put my faith in Diablo.
But what I'm going to do, if I can figure it out, I'm not going to be able to figure this out fast enough. Here's what you do. Learn how to use Match EQ. And then you feed what you want to sound like a sample into your Match EQ. And then you feed something that sounds like a sample or a vintage recording that you want it to emulate. And have your Match EQ analyze that EQ curve, and then analyze your EQ curve, and then change your EQ curve to match the sample, and you would be shocked at the results sometimes. Sometimes the results are, and you can do this like in a full mix. I've done this, say, in a bridge breakdown section where I really needed something like super filtered and wild. I would insert sometimes an EQ across the entire mix and automate it in and out, and have the Match EQ automate to the entire mix for the outro or the intro or the bridge or whatever. And you can do that on individual tracks or whatever. Match EQ is a fantastic tool for helping you make one thing sound like another, if they're somewhat close to begin with, or if you really just want to change something drastically. Okay, Delvante Tate and Rafa ask, hey Ken, what do you use your distressor for? So, funny you should ask. Hopefully everybody on the broadcast knows by now. I am clearly losing my mind, and I have decided to give away a hardware distressor, which I bought. So one lucky person at the next broadcast on September 2nd is going to win a brand new Empirical Labs real deal hardware distressor, sitting right over here. It's there you go, serial 32967. And so how do I use mine? The distressor is kind of like a Swiss Army knife. So I'm just as comfortable using a distressor on vocals as I am on drums. And it's really, it can emulate so many different things. I'd say my top two are those two. But beyond that, anytime I think, oh, I need a compressor on something, a distressor would always be somewhere close to or on top of my list of what to grab. And that's been, since long before the plugins existed. I think one of my favorite mixes I know I used distressors on the lead vocals was that Danity Kane Damaged mix. And I used a few distressors on a few of the really key vocals and just thought it helped so much. Let's see. Samuel asks, do you like to hear roughs or demos of the music to get a feel or direction from the clientele, or let the first listen to the tracks be the guide? I think I actually just said. I like getting a rough mix. I like vibing to it 3, 4, 5 times. Whatever it takes me to get an idea or a clearer picture in my head of where I want to take the song. The rough mix is not going to handcuff me or marry me to a direction at all. I may listen to the rough mix and go like, oh God, this is not it at all. Okay. But the thing is, I want to have a sense of the melodies I'm about to hear, the drums I'm about to hear, the instrumentation I'm about to hear, so that when I'm pulling things up, they have some context to a song that I remember that I'm going for. So that's my usage of the rough mixes. It really gives me a great vibe. It also helps me check and make sure that my client gave me all of the tracks in their mix, and the song actually wasn't supposed to not have a snare drum or some crazy shit like that. Seon from the chat roll asks, how do you organize your synth sounds and samples so you can find them easily? I'm curious what you all use. Dude, old school, just foldering and shit. I mean, part of it is you use these giant libraries like Contact and Composer Cloud X and the UVI Falcon and things like that kind of already group things for you. And then over the years, all of my Logic libraries have basically not changed. And then nowadays, if I'm looking for something new, it's usually just I fire up Splice and I'll just search for a while if they're, sometimes before I will even look in my own collection, because, I don't know where all of my sounds are and I don't know everything that I have. And sometimes it's easier for me to find it on Splice than it is to find in my own collection. So, having a lot of sounds can be a detriment as well. All right, Henny Tha Bizness in a few minutes. Brian Hughes asks, hey Ken, what are some different ways to beef up a thin sounding clap or snare or kick sample? I'll just show you a few plugins that I would use for that. Big Bottom, this thing, usually I'll just put the mix to 100, and the drive, you don't need more than 5 to 15. This thing adds so much. And for kicks, usually 100 or lower if they're not fat enough. For snares and claps and stuff, sometimes I'll go all the way up to 400 and just kind of fill out the lower mid-range or round it out or give it some weight or some beef to it. Big Bottom is one that I reach for a lot. Let's see, what else? Just the UAD Pultec Pro Legacy has great bottom end to it. The Waves Max Bass I'll use sometimes for that. Yeah, it's weird. I use bass processors on thin claps. Same with vocals sometimes. Whatever it takes. Let's see. Justin asks, when you compare your own production with the work of others, what's the first thing you pay attention to? Good question. I don't know. Probably vibe. I mean, I don't know. I try when I'm listening to others. I really try and just detach myself unless I'm specifically listening for work. When I'm listening to other music, man, I just want to be listening for enjoyment. As you know, it's so rare that I get to listen to music for enjoyment. Speaking of which, speaking of which, if anybody can guess my favorite song in the next 15 or 20 minutes, I'll give you a vocal bundle from audioschoolonline.com, which is my school. And I'm texting Dominic what my favorite song is. All right, so Dominic will monitor the chat, and we'll see if anybody on the chat roll picks my favorite song. Oh, man, it's a banger. Larry asks, when using serial compression, is it best to arrange the compressors from fastest attack to slowest? If not, what would you recommend? Usually, I find myself doing it, I think the other way around, because usually the slower attack compressors, you get as much vibe as you do control, so they're more sound compressors, and the faster attacks usually are more about control. So I'm going to go to Henny Tha Bizness, but before I go, I'm going to read you his bio because it's so good to have him on the show. So me and Henny met in California doing this thing for a YouTube channel called TLD Today. Great tech channel. Anybody who wants to be up on current tech, like, you know, home tech, like shit you get at Best Buy and stuff. TLD Today is an awesome YouTube channel for that. But Henny's YouTube channel is just Henny Tha Bizness. He's got 90,000 subscribers, so he's doing something very, very right that's connecting to a lot of people. Henny Tha Bizness is an award, and let me spell it for you. HennyThaBizness. So you'll find him. Henny is an award-winning multi-platinum record producer, songwriter, professor, and YouTuber. Henny has produced numerous hit records for various recording artists, including Drake, Chris Brown, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Black Eyed Peas, Young Jeezy, Brandy, Ice Cube, and many others. He is a graduate from the prestigious Morehouse College. Henny is also a professor at Morehouse, where he teaches music production, online branding, and music technology. He's developing a strong following online, obviously, guiding individuals on how to use iOS devices in a professional manner on his YouTube channel. He taught me. I mean, one afternoon sitting down with Henny, and I was up and running on the iPad making music, and I've actually made money off of that stuff that I have that I've created on the iPad. So I'm going to call him, see if he's in. There's the man.
All right.
How you doing, Henny?
I'm good. How are you?
I am mostly fantastic. A little scattered,
right.
but, you know, when is the music industry not scattered? So
Right.
it's been a bit of a dead sprint over the last few weeks, and it still continues to be. But I guess in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, it's good to be busy. So
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I hear that.
So I gave you the big setup. Everybody knows who you are and what you do.
Cool.
I wanted to bring you on because you're a serious person in the music industry who actually has real credits, who also uses forward tech to get them.
Yeah.
And I think many people are stuck. You know, I mean, if you consider Logic and Pro Tools were created 20, 30 years ago, more than that.
Yeah.
And you
all
they do is keep updating the code instead of creating brand new code from scratch. Talk about the different power that we have nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for me it was just the biggest thing for me was just trying to figure out how to minimize, you know, I heard you, I was watching earlier as you were talking about, some people were talking about organization files and, where do you go for inspiration for sounds? And sometimes it can get so overwhelming just trying to figure out what damn, piano to pick, what Rhodes to pick, what sampler to pick. Because, for the last couple decades, we have hundreds of them. And that was one of the reasons why I was just like, there has to be a simpler way for me to kind of get my ideas out. And that's why, like, 5 years ago, I tried to see if it was possible to do it on an iPad Air. And so from there, it's just kind of taken me on a whole new career, whole new journey. So yeah, that's kind of
how
where I'm
has
at.
it evolved since then? The tech from original iPad to now. I mean, the shit that I'm making on the iPad, it sounds incredible. So,
Right.
you know,
Right. No, I think it's I took it from the standpoint, like when I started out, I was 17, 18 in the late 90s, and I had one keyboard. That was it. I had an ASR 10. That was it, and
I had
some
the
house
ESQ.
speakers from. Okay, right on. And I had to go back to that mind state of saying, you know what? Back then, I only had a certain amount of space, a certain amount of hard drive space on a disk. I actually got a SCSI after a while and plugged in a zip drive. But all the while, I was just like, you know what? Time and time again, technology goes forward and forward, and we're allowing ourselves to get more powerful with more mobile devices. So now it's like, not only has the iPad got more powerful, right, with the iPad Pros and everything else, but shit, it's just like now you can do a lot of things in on your phone. I'm using some of the same apps that I'm doing on my iPad on my phone, and I can bring those in the in the studio, export the stems, bring it into Pro Tools, have somebody like yourself, queue up a mix if we're doing something like that, and it's just as professional as if I was using a spec'd out 2020 MacBook Pro. So
now if you're like, say you're starting to beat on your phone, can you just use your earbuds via Bluetooth? Are they fast
that's
enough?
No, the only thing about Bluetooth is the latency.
It's still a little slow, yeah.
I can use the Bluetooth like these, AirPod Pros or whatever, but it's one of those things where the technology just hasn't caught up fast enough for us to be latency free with Bluetooth technology. So I mean, I still use, whether it's some in-air some Audio Technicas that I plug in, or some of these new Shure Ionic 50s. Those are excellent for using wireless, Bluetooth, and wired. So a lot of things for me is still some of the old way. You still need to be wired for
Right.
latency, but other than that, man, Bluetooth MIDI has still been good though.
How do you think like the Ford tech with the iPad and the phone just shits on the big tower stuff?
Man, flexibility, being able to be anywhere at any time, if you organize your files, if you start bringing in and figuring out the best applications that, you would want to use for any situation, whether you're sampling, whether, you're trying to create, whether you wanted to bring in a friend, a composer, a musician to play with you, you find those apps. And you find those little interfaces, whether it be from Apogee or from IK Multimedia. There's tons of different companies that are making products for mobile music production. But if I can do that while I'm taking a shit, or if I can do that while I'm out here with my kids, that was the basics of me saying, you know what, if I can learn how to do this, I can literally do this anywhere and nothing can stop me. So that's why I've been,
If I could have done that on the train in New York City when I was young, going to sessions back and forth at 45 minutes each way a day, that's an hour and a half of beat making, man.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yo, kids don't know how good you have it nowadays.
I'm telling you.
So you teach at Morehouse.
Yeah.
What you teach? Music production, online branding, and music technology.
Yeah.
What are you doing in the age of COVID? Are you in virtual land? Are you going in?
Yeah, we are. So me and my business partner, Kennard Garrett, he brought me in. He's actually been a teacher and an executive administrator over there for a while. So we're trying to figure out the best ways of just kind of switching the platform more towards online branding as it relates with building, a career in music,
So you're actually changing the curriculum to adapt to COVID.
Yes.
Beautiful.
That's the only way to do it. And I mean, it works well with talking about, right, mobile products, because a lot of people don't have the studios that they're in. A lot of people don't, can't collaborate and do the things that they would like to do around others. And so we're like, okay, if you only had this, what can you do? How can you kind of get your career started? And that's, basically what we're trying to do. And so for the last few years, and now even like the last semester of this year, we're really trying to zone in on, talking more about, promoting yourself, building yourself as a brand, and what does that mean? And, how do you actually go about maybe even starting a YouTube channel, or, getting
is there like
popular.
one amazing branding tip you can give?
Be authentic, be yourself. And don't be afraid to fuck up, because you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they get worried, they get scared about trying to figure out how to be a personality. No, just be yourself, and the right people will find your page, and the right people will continue to watch you based off if they like your personality or not. Really,
right. If you're bringing good knowledge. I mean, that's
exactly.
that's the key too. You gotta, I think both have to be there, but
yeah.
but speaking of which, your YouTube channel, I think you were at maybe 45 or 50 when I first met you, and you're at 90.
I think I was under 40, maybe.
You were
I
under
might
40?
have been under 40. Yeah.
Incredible, dude. I'm jealous. Any quick tips on how to grow your YouTube channel? I personally want to know.
I came up with three things. It was to educate, to entertain, and to motivate. And so
that's exactly what I'm trying to do with this show. Yeah. So that makes sense.
If you do that consistently, right, you entertain, right, based off like that 10-minute mix that you're doing. You're entertaining as well as, it's a lot more entertainment than it is education, because you're moving fast and not a lot of people can see what you're doing, but they're so in awe that you're able to do what you're doing based off the skills that you have.
Right.
Then, you got to educate people. You got to show them how you did what you did, what things you're using, what products, whatever, maybe show off the products that you're using in the studio. If you're a chef, show the stuff that you're using in the kitchen. But
Sure.
then also motivate people and show people, like, how far you've came, and how much you've struggled, and how much you've, championed yourself, and the times where it was hell. I mean, that makes you feel more real and more relatable to people. And if you can, tackle all three of those, then you'll start to realize that, like, more people will start coming towards your shit. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Obviously that's what I'm trying to do with my broadcast. The pandemic hit. I'm immune compromised. Yeah. I can't go out. I'm stuck here. I can't even have clients over. So I'm like, you know what? I got all this camera gear and shit from running the school. So I was like, all right, we're doing a broadcast, and here we are. And it's been
there you go.
So much fun. I mean, it's mind-nerving. Oh my, the behind the scenes shit is, the setup is everything. But
and you get so much, you start to feel so fulfilled, because you start meeting real people every video, every time you go live, and those same people show up, and you start building those relationships, and you really start building your own community. And that's where you're like, fuck, I'm really trying to help people, change their lives as much as I can.
I think that's a lot of my motivation as well. But I think you touched on something. Everybody's like, how do I get a start? How do I? Man, you just gotta do it, and you gotta do it consistently in a real way. And I think that's what you've done. And I mean, let's go back to talk about some of the stuff that's actually on your channel.
Okay.
What's some of your favorite DAWs, so to speak?
DAWs. Yeah.
For the iPad, or for
I think it's crazy. I have this discussion all the time with some of my friends and colleagues. Like, if I show you the apps that I'm using on my iPad, right? I start to realize that there's so many great developers doing great things, whether they're what you call AUV3 plugins. If people haven't heard of those, it's basically just kind of like VSTs, kind of built for DAWs within iOS. So I love using things like Wave or like Cubasis 3. I think of Cubasis 3 as kind of like a Pro Tools, where you kind of bring in your files and you can really mix, sequence, edit, and all of that, right? I like something like Wave. If you're not familiar with that, it's so simple to be able to, load this up, right? This is a free app that you can pay for to bring, I think it's like a few bucks, $5 maybe, to be able to bring in all your sounds, right? And if you're familiar with Novation, their company Amplify makes this. And like if you see here, these are all of my drums. Everything that's green is drums that I've imported. Everything is blue is basses, whatever, right? And so all I have to do is make sure that boom, I put in find the tempo or know the beats, right? If I know the key, I can put that in. If I don't, whatever, right? And then tell it what it is, whether it's a bass, a drum, melody, percussion. And so it's kind of like what you do with Splice, or kind of like what you do with, if people using Arcade or something like that.
The thing that you're not telling them that we just assume that we know is after you've put it in and tagged it, then you can make it go to virtually any tempo in any key.
Yes.
Based off of that starting tag, which to me is the real power of the iPad. Like you were talking about the Amplify, they make Bloxwave, they also make Launchpad, and I was just blown away with the ability of Launchpad to speed things up and slow them down and change the pitch and keep some real coherency of the sound. The tech is, I find it like better than Ableton. I was really surprised that you could get that shit on an iPad.
And I really hope that they can, build some of their apps up. And I think a lot of it is just they're the few man team just trying to figure the shit out. And
but the blessing and the curse of Launchpad, one of the reasons that I actually love it is its simplicity, because I want to know, all right, I want to, I feel like making a beat right now, and I want to know at the end of that whatever time that I can put it down. And so what I do is I'll create a full beat with it, and then I'll stem it out and record a 2-track of all, and then I'll chop up the stems later if I want to put them into the DAW. So I mean, it's a mind numbing to get it out, but the actual creation process, incredible.
Yeah, and the speed, that's so. Like one of my workflows when I was able to go to the studio and really vibe and collaborate with others, I would literally load up something like Bloxwave, hit the drums, right? I don't know if that's coming in or not. Is that coming in? Okay, cool. Really fast. All right. Let me try one more. All right, now I got the melody.
You guys see how fast this is happening. This is like sprint mixing.
So fast, right? I could take all of those, even if it's just those 3 pieces, bring a bass player in. I could either load the bass player up here, record them in like this. You can see my voice going. So you know that I could literally plug something in, bring in live bass, bring in live guitar, and we're getting loops going. After that, I'm just doing the project files, and it exports it as a zip file, and I can airdrop it to, my session or a Pro Tools mix or whatever. So the speed is another thing that's just so killer, right? Because then it's like you can really get ideas. And if you have rappers or singers or songwriters in there with you and they're just ready to go,
right,
you got to be ready to just give them something to spark some type of energy. And even if 75% of that was trash and maybe one piece of it worked, that's what you needed to get started. And that's half the time what we're talking about right now, just how to get started. So,
Right. Getting those initial ideas, and you can go and update them and replace them later, but to get people working, that's the thing. Yeah, you and I think a lot alike, man. So I'm going to get back to my show, but dude, it's super great seeing you again. Honestly, you've been a big inspiration on me. So having you on my show is really fantastic. Check out Henny Tha Bizness, your YouTube channel. That's just the YouTube channel, right? It's just Henny Tha Bizness.
Yeah,
okay.
And just, for me, it's just being able to make sure that it's about me, right? I think a lot of people, they'll have a brand that they're building, and then they want to do other things, and then they feel like they're stuck to that brand because that's what they built their company off after. I just wanted to build a company after myself, and whatever I fucking love, that's what I wanted to talk about, right?
Nice.
So, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to the homie Marcus for setting this up.
We got a great segment from him later.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
All right, dude. Thanks again. I will talk to you soon, my friend. Take care, man.
All right.
Henny Tha Bizness. That was really great. He's obviously what you guys just heard. So I don't need to tell you again. All right. Speaking of, what's next on? I'm going to do a little bit more Q&A, and then I'm going to spill to Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery. Yeah, I'll save that. From the chat roll, Sabbath Man asks, "Hey Ken, what if my guitars are very thin and I want dirty, distorted bass? How should I mix to put them together in frequency range?" Well, if you've got dirty, distorted bass and thinner guitars, you probably wouldn't brighten your bass as much as you might normally if you're trying to get that distortion to really cut through. But if you've got really thin guitars and you don't want them to be thin, the first thing I would do is start pulling out frequencies that super hurt your ears in little notches. You know, just a couple of them, 2 or 3 places that really hurt, and then do more of an overall EQ on your guitars. That's typically how I do it. Although with everything, when you're doing notch subtractive EQ, you got to make sure you're not changing the sound too much. Because you can pull out an annoying frequency, and in the moment you're like, thank God that was gone. And then, you know, your artist comes back to you after you hear the mix, and they're like, "What happened to all the presence in the guitars, dude?" And you're like, "Oh shit, I notched it all out." So you got to be a little bit careful with that stuff. But as far as the bass, you know, still distort it, but put the drive more in the lower mids to mids instead of the mids to upper mids. Let's see if that helps. Okay, I don't know where I am on. No. Dion asks, "What is the single most important factor of being an excellent producer?" I'll tell you, one thing is, don't try and produce shit that you don't think you're going to do a great job doing. You know, unless you absolutely have to and you have no other choice. I usually try and stay within my wheelhouse as a producer. Mixer, I can mix anything I can mix, but production is a bit more, you know, creation from scratch and not coming in at the end and finishing. So you got to really know the genre and the format. Andre asks, "Hey Ken, how much should we care about loudness values, lufs, RMS, and dynamic range when mixing, and what's the most accurate meter plugin we could use?" Well, Andre, I have yet to have somebody give me a good reason why I should give a shit about lufs. I'm open to hearing it, but never in my career have I cared what lufs level is. I don't now. I don't think about it. And RMS is what I think about. RMS is your average volume. So your peaks are always going to be up to 0 in digital land, always. The question is, how loud does your mix sound? Perceived loudness. That's RMS. My RMS, the meter that I use is the Slate FGX. I only use the meter. If I'm rough mixing, I'll use it. It's a good box. Great plugin. But I love the meter. The meter I trust. So my finished mixes end between -7 and -9 on the RMS scale on the Slate FGX meter. Lufs, I couldn't care less. I don't think about it. It doesn't come up. You know, the lufs debate, everybody thinks like, oh, -14 lufs or Spotify's going to ruin your shit. No, that is not true. So here's what's going to happen. And let's see if I can find it. Somewhere in here's yes, right here. Okay, under your settings in Spotify, you have music streaming quality. Mine is set to very high. I have a fast connection. Normalize volume. Set the same volume level for all songs. That sets all songs to be adjusted to -14 lufs. When that's off, people hear your song as you mixed it, or as it's been mastered at that level. And to prove it, I think so. I'll play you just a few seconds of Des Rock's "Let Me Live, Let Me Die," which I believe I did a lufs analysis for at one point, which came in at -6 lufs, and it was like -6 or 7 on the RMS scale as well. I mean, 40 million streams, nobody's complained about the lufs level or the RMS, and the RMS is loud as fuck. I mean, that's the other thing. People are like, well, is the loudness war still on? Honestly, for people in the trenches, yep, the loudness war is still on. I still definitely pay attention to volume when I'm mixing, and if I feel like it suits the song, I'm pushing the volume. And I try and mix to mastered volume. I want to get my finished mixes completely finished to my ears. I don't want to leave anything to second guess. If the mastering engineer can outdo me on the final, great. That's awesome. But I'm swinging for the fences, and I'm trying to make my mix totally finished in every way. And then what I do is once the client approves it, or if it's for my artist or whatever, once it's approved, then I will print main passes like what has been approved, nice and fucking loud, and then I'll print secondary uncompressed passes with just my last stage limiter, brick wall limiter removed, which is really, the last stage limiter is really only for volume. I don't really use the last stage stuff to change the sound of my mix at all. It's really just to push the volume. So I remove that, let the mastering engineer do his thing, and that's what I do. All right. Coco Scott asks, can you touch on EQing reverbs and delays? What frequencies should stay and what frequencies should go? I could show a little bit of this. Yeah. So my delays, I'm almost always darkening my delays. I want to take the top off of them, because when a voice comes back at you that you've already heard, to me, usually you want it to sound like a memory, not, oh, it's right in my face again. So I don't want to hear the full bandwidth delay coming back at me. Usually I will shave off the top end of my delays, as you will see, to, yeah, here we go. Oh, it was somewhere around there. It was about 2K. So usually my delays, and this, I have a ping pong delay going, you'll see. So sometimes with rappers, I will take the ping pong off, just make it a mono delay, not even any stereo spread to it, and I'll put the delay real dark, 1K or even darker than that, and I'll have it just like a 16th note repeat, something slappy, or just an 8th note kind of rocking underneath. And sometimes you can get these really awesome rhythms that the rappers can just bounce over with just some subtle delays going on that don't really feel like delays. The thing is to make sure that you're not doing something that really you're just trying to be cool and it doesn't suit the rapper very well, or it doesn't suit the song very well. And reverbs, actually you can see I don't use other equalizers to EQ reverbs. I will adjust the reverb on its own. So with this on the fly, I went from max decay to almost minimum decay. If you see the speakers in the room, you can see them moving. So this simulates the microphones in the room relative to the speakers. So I moved the microphones really close to take most of the ambience away, added a little pre-delay, took the decay down to almost nothing, jacked up the treble and mid, rolled off the bass. So, and this is just one, for another song, I may have done something completely different. For this one, let me see if I can actually play what it sounds like. I think, yeah, here we go. So if I'm going to reinstantiate Capital Chambers with, and then just, how do I? All right, I'm going to put a second one of this in with none of the settings, and you can hear the difference of where I started and where I finished. All right. Hear that echo? So that's where I started. This is where I finished. Okay. And delays. That's too late on delays. Okay, that's enough for that one. I'm going to go to Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, because he continues week after week to bring you guys amazing free stuff. You guys get a theme of the show. Here we go. So Marcus always goes out and finds the most amazing free things, great opportunities, and week after week we bring you his segment, Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery. Whoa, I can't even get it out. All right, here we go.
What's good? This is Marcus the Fingers Manderson back with another Mixing Night Man of Mystery. In this edition of Mixing Night Man of Mystery, we're going to go over some free effects plugins. There are a lot of free plugins out there, free sound plugins, free bundles. This one we'll talk about free effects plugins, just a handful of them. Again, I have the spreadsheet available in the Mixing Night Discord app. The Discord group in the Discord app, highlighting some of these plugins and more. So let's get right into it. Here we are on Safari, and we're going to go right into some of these free effects plugins you can use in your production, in your mixing. Right here we have Saturation Knob by SoftTube. It's a tube saturation emulator, very powerful, again free. You have sort of two UIs here that you can look into. You can look into some of the text there about the modes, the different kinds of characters and distortions and things. Again, free. You see the buy button, and next to that it says free. It's definitely free. Great to use when you look for that, when you're looking for that saturation sort of quality for your music. Next, we have two free plugins by Valhalla. The first one is Supermassive, which is a reverb. It can be used as a delay or reverb. It's great for adding space to your mix on the sounds or vocals or whatever you're using. Again, free. You see there, no strings attached. Just click the download, you're ready to go. You can see the UI there. Definitely go to valhalladsp.com to look more into the free plugins, including this Valhalla Supermassive and this Freak EQ, or Freak Echo, Frequency Echo, which is a frequency shifter and an analog echo emulator. So definitely check that out on the valhalladsp.com. There's that UI, so you can sort of see some of the similarities between the UI, so you can get familiar with the Valhalla way of things. Next, we have three free plugins from iZotope. First is Ozone Imager. So this is where you can add some stereo width to your mixes and productions. There's a quick video there to show you what you're getting when you get the Ozone Imager. I think this is version 2. They had a version years ago they released. Then they updated this version last year. Again, you can download it for free. I believe you do have to either register for the iZotope email or newsletter or something. But once you're on there, you can download this for free. And then it'll tell you more about how you can widen your mixes, stereo-wise, your tracks, things like that. So next is iZotope Vinyl. This is a great plugin if you're looking to add some lo-fi or some vinyl, like crackles and hiss and noise. You can get an idea of the UI there. It does look a little dated, the UI, but it's great for adding that vinyl character to your mixes, to tracks. iZotope Vinyl, again, free. You can look into some of the text there about what you're getting in the plugin and how people are talking about it. You can get some sound examples, and then you can read more about the context. And then down here at the bottom, they have some templates you can use. So let's say you get the plugin, you can open this, use vinyl for an old radio sound, change those settings, and then save it as your own preset. Same with that lo-fi vocal sound effects. And you can look online to see if people have presets or settings you can change and adjust, and just save those as custom presets in the actual app. And finally, we have Vocal Doubler by iZotope, which allows you to take a vocal track and create a double. So how do they do that? You can learn more about it here. No nonsense depth and width to your vocals. They have a video there showing you how it works. You You see a picture of the UI there with a little like orange wave, unparalleled ease of use. You see all the text there, so definitely get into here. And then you can read more about it, see some testimonials, and then go over the system requirements there. So again, we have saturation knob, supermassive and freak echo by Valhalla, ozone imager vinyl, and vocal doubler by Isotope. These are just a handful of the free effects plugins that are available. Again, the spreadsheet is available in the Mixing Night Discord group. Check that out. Again, this has been another Mixing Night Man of Mystery. Thank you all for checking it out. Be safe and be well, everyone. All right, peace.
Oh, thank you, Marcus Manderson. Great segment as always. So yeah, the Discord community, if you want the full spreadsheet of all of the free stuff that he's found for you for this episode, check out our Discord Mixing Night community. Man, we have over 500 Discord members now. We have 544 How is that even possible? We just started this shit. Wow, that's really cool. I've got to post there more often. Usually I like posting there, but lately I've been so fucking busy with work. See, my broadcast is, I do this once every 2 weeks. The rest of my life is working nonstop. I did a Columbia Records gig this past week, music and mixing. I mixed a few major label singles lately. There's a lot of big stuff going on, and our artist just got signed, so we're doing really fantastically well right now. Let's see what else is happening. I'm gonna go to ear training because I think it's gonna set up some other things. Actually, I'm gonna knock out a couple more Q&As, then I'll go straight to ear training and then the phase effects, which is gonna be really cool. I haven't gotten enough off the chats tonight. So from the chat roll, ETS Records LLC asks, hey Ken, how do you get a mix to 0 RMS? No, you do not want to try and do that. I've had, no. Nothing should be anywhere close to 0 RMS. 0 is for peaks. RMS, EDM at loudest should be, I think I did a Cruella mix called Pass the Love Around for the first album. That I think clocked in the -5s occasionally. It was averaging -6s and 7s, but it was hitting 5s. And sounding great. As long as you're not distorting is really the key. But you want to keep your RMS between -7 and -10. There's no real reason to push it beyond that. The other thing is if you have a super bass heavy song, you'll probably have a higher RMS than if you have a light. Like a rock song without a 808 is not going to need the same RMS push as a Drake song. Okay. Johnny Freeman asks, hey Ken, I just got a new pair of the M50s. Love them. Thanks for the recommendation. Oh, cool. Where are they? I think you're talking about these. Did you get the one with the cable? Yeah, these are great. The one with the detachable cable sucks, but the 808s on these for $150 are superb. Cool. Clinton Ubiquity asks from the chat roll, hey Ken, when wanting a warm mix but not driving too far away from the demo, other than levels, which do you add more lows or cut highs? It's going to be different for every song, but I cannot stress enough to you how little I try to think when I mix. Or when I create, if I'm producing, whatever I'm doing, if I'm in creative mode, my tech brain is completely turned off, and I'm trying not to think about frequencies and numbers and formulas and things like that. I want to think about notes and melodies and rhythms, and that's where my brain is. Jeffrey Egbejule? Hey Jeffrey. Hey Ken, please, what advice can you give on checking phase during mixing? Well, I think a lot of what I'm going to show after the ear training thing is going to teach you that, so I'll definitely get to it. One more and then I'm going to ear training. Miguel Diaz from the chat roll asks, hey Ken, as a producer, do you think it's the job of a producer to help find the style that the artist is looking for? I think a big trouble and journey is with an artist is to find their own style. It depends on how early you catch them. I mean, a lot of artists, by the time they're getting to me, they know who they are and what they're about. And sometimes they don't see everything that they can be. I think especially vocal production can be crucially important if you don't have a singer who's really seasoned in the studio. The ability of a producer to draw out a great vocal performance, I think, is super crucial, and it's super becoming a lost art as well. So I think it's much more than just, the style of the music, but also, lyric and melody and things like that. Sure, you can help them find their style if they need it. And maybe the style changes from album to album, like every Kanye album is going to be different, Okay. I'm going to ear training. So, where's my... This is just... Okay, so this is going to be phase coherency ear training. And some of the things that you're about to guess on, then I will follow up with a DAW demonstration of what you are hearing. So, we're basically only guessing which is more phase coherent than the other. So, some of these are going to be super obvious. Some of them are not going to be super obvious. And I'll play them, and then I'll go back and explain each one so that, I'll show you the examples. Okay, I'll shut up and get to number one. All right, which is more phase coherent, 1A or 1B? Or 1B? To A. To B. All right, there's the layup. 3A. B. For A. For B. I'm going to play that again since it's so short. Start with 4A, then 4B. For B. Five A.
Now would you break before you twist the knife? Yeah, would you take my hand and take a life? I'm too damn young to give up on a lie.
5B.
Now would you break before you twist the knife? Yeah, would you take my hand and take a life? I'm too damn young to give up on a lie.
All right. 6A. See if this sounds familiar.
I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the she where to find you.
6B.
I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the she where to find you.
7A. One more time on 7A. 7B. This is two kick drums together. Two one-shot kicks. Alright, now I'll play them back to back. 7A and a 7B. right, 8A. Eight B. Nine A. Nine B. One more listen through to that. Bonus points if somebody can accurately and confidently tell me which one of those is more phase coherent. And finally, number 10. B. All right, let's see how you did. Let me find my okay, don't put this on screen, not yet. Boom. All right, here are your final answers as I play them through. The green one is the one that is more phase coherent. Here's example 1. That's more than that. And sorry, what you're hearing is the 808 and a kick drum are playing together. And I'm flipping the phase of the kick drum. And one example is with the phase flipped, and one example is with the phase not flipped. And that's basically what we're listening for on one. You hear it's deeper. That kick is more resonance and body to it. That's what you're listening for. Which phase direction is more coherent? You'll get that better on the example. Okay, 2. That's so out of phase it hurts. That is the classic prototypical out of phase sound. Makes you turn your head and bark like a dog. That's when shit sounds out of phase. This is totally in phase. The other way was 180 degrees out of, or 90 degrees out of phase, whatever it is. It was completely out of phase. All right. Now 3 is, I should have set this up better. This is actually the bass line from Bohemian Rhapsody. There's a bass DI cabinet and a bass, there's a bass DI and a bass amp. And the two are phase aligned in one and not phase aligned in the other. And so obviously they're phase aligned in B. Do you hear the richness in the low end? So what that out of phase of the two signals does is it slightly cancels some of those big low frequency waves. So you have the DI and the cabinet, which are just a few milliseconds apart, but if you realign those, all of a sudden all of your low frequency waves line up better, and you get this richer, fatter bottom. Same thing is happening with the 808s and the kick. When I show you the example, you'll be really surprised. Okay, 4 is... This is totally out of phase. But see, there wasn't much to cancel there, so it got a little wider and a little less bottom. That's the thing about phase, is you're listening for which has more bottom and which just sounds more solid and well put together. But the bottom, the low frequencies are usually where you can hear the phase coherency tighten up the best. Let's see. 5 is B. This is Des Rocks, by the way. Single, Used to the Darkness, produced by us. So what I did on A was I took a single band and put it way out of phase. So you're not hearing the whole mix out of phase. You're hearing like 400 hertz at a 1Q, only boosting the sides with a mid-side EQ. And this is phase coherent as mixed. Okay, and then 6. Oh, same thing. I just took a mid-side EQ and I widened up the high frequencies on this. So I think I really accentuated those. Give it a listen. The first one is out of phase. And
I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the she where to find you.
and
I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the she where to find you.
so you can't use phase too much, or it kind of gets you caught. So a lot of people are overusing it. I hear mixes all the time that are just too wide. Okay, the kicks. So these are 2 kick drums together. One is with phase alignment, one is without. And obviously A is phase aligned and B is not. You hear just a little less bottom, a little less solidity. It's not necessarily bad. It's not like you couldn't use those 2 kicks without the phase flipped in your mix, but listen to how much more solid the low end gets with a simple, one plug-in without touching an EQ. Okay, next is 8A. So this is a stereo track. I just flipped the whole phase on the entire stereo track. You see how wide it feels. There's no center at all. It's like way outside the speakers. When things are outside of the speakers, they're out of phase. Here's in phase. Finally, so this one, who got it? I'm not sure I believe that one. I'm going to have to double check that. Interesting. Well, I've got it on an example anyway, so you're about to hear it. And then 10. Yeah, this is the one I accentuated the high frequencies on, so you can really hear only the high frequencies in the out of phase mix are really wide and bright and sizzly, which sounds great for a moment, but it wears you out really fast. All right, so let me get to the phase lesson. You're training phase examples. Okay. So during a mix, I'm so often, whenever I have 2 sounds that are similar that are hitting together, 2 kick drum one shots, 2 snare drum one shots, a snare and a clap, could be anything like that. If I have stereo signals in my mix, I may take some and put like oftentimes to get width in my mixes, instead of putting something out of phase or putting the whole mix slightly out of phase, I'll take one element and I'll take one frequency range of one element, like, you know, an organ or a pad or something like that, and I'll take the mid-range of it and I'll just push it a little bit outside of the speakers or the highs or something like that. And I may do that on one or two things on a really dense mix, so that if you're listening to a really dense mix that I've done, you hear shit that's outside of the speakers, but most of the mix hasn't been fucked with at all phase-wise, and it's really coherent and centered. And just about the most, this is basically what I do on a stereo mix, is I will widen with this, just the stereo width knob. I don't go past about 112, so 12% additional stereo width. It's not too much. It's subtle, but listen, I'll bring it in and out and you can hear what it's doing. It's really subtle. When it's in, you're gonna hear the mix widening a little bit, and when it's out, it's just going to collapse just a little bit. It just gives you a little bit of space.
I put my faith in Diablo. I put my faith.
And then sometimes what I do, if I would just want to accentuate one band of it, I wouldn't do this on a full mix, but say the piano on this, I may just dial in something like this. So this is a mid-side EQ that I'm fucking with. Middle, side. I don't think I'm affecting anything, right? No. Okay.
I put my faith in Diablo.
So if you can imagine, I might do this to, you know, an organ or a pad or some stereo thing. Listen to how far out the congas get. So if I had a really dense percussion pattern and I just threw only the congas out this far, and then other percussion elements or whatever would fill in the middle sections, so you wouldn't feel like you're constantly turning your head to analyze the phase of something. And that's what happens when you guys put too much phase spreading. Spreading is basically what you're doing. How you spread things is by incurring phase incoherency. Okay, now I'm going to show you this 808 kick thing, because I bet in a million years you never thought that just aligning the... Here, let me play. Here's the 808. Here's the kick. So I'm using this plugin called Auto Align from Sound Radix, and I'm making the 808 the master, and the kick is going to receive that signal from the 808, and it's going to try and align itself to it. Now the kicks and the 808 hit together, so it has something, you know, similar to itself to analyze. And when it analyzed it, it moved it forward 8 ticks, or 8 samples, not very much at all, but it flipped it completely out of phase. So we both moved it and flipped the phase coherency, and listen to the difference. So when this is off, it's not being affected at all, and when this goes on, you're hearing the corrected phase. Listen how solid that kick drum gets. All with phase alignment. I mean, that's just something you probably couldn't even get those two things to hit that way with compression and EQ unless you just got lucky. So that's why this stuff is so important in ways that you wouldn't think. Here's another way that almost nobody really considers. 2 one-shot kick drums, completely different kicks. I'll go one at a time. They're one shots, anytime I have two one-shots together, I'm checking phase on them. And here I think I've already got these two dialed in, because this stuff just takes a while to, to analyze and lock in. Okay, so the top one I'm feeding, the bottom one, again, here's moved at 14 ticks and reverse the phase. So here's the difference between these two playing together. I'll start not corrected, and then when I flip this to on, you're hearing the phase and timing correction. It just makes a huge difference, even in your sound. Like, that just sounds like a different kick drum to me in this instance, in a more pleasing way. And the thing is, sometimes this doesn't work at all. Sometimes you'll have the Sound Radix or whatever you're using to align things, and it'll align it and it'll correct it, and you listen and you'll go, not better. And sometimes if I get the not better, I'll try again, or I'll try it in a different way and make it analyze in a different way, maybe a different section of the song or something. But, they don't always work, but when they do, man, they really do. Okay, here is the Bohemian Rhapsody piano. So left hand I'm sending to the right. Look how much it corrected. It moved the right microphone back, I think that's forward, 96 samples, and reversed the phase. So again, I'm just going to let you hear this in phase and out of phase. On is corrected, off is uncorrected. This is going to be minor, and what you're listening for is a little bit more warmth in the piano, and it comes in stereo-wise a little bit more, just because it's a little bit more phase coherent. So a little bit more warmth is all you're getting. But again, this is only on alignment. Here, everything get a little richer, and everything just kind of cinch in just a little bit. And that's just phase corrected. Clearly, they recorded it fine in the first place. It sounds amazing. Okay, the next one is actually the bass line. And, okay, so I took the DI since... Which did I? Well, I think I made the amp chase the DI. So, and you can see it's 249 samples off, which is really significant. If I jack up the waveforms, you can see how far off the alignments are. I don't know if you can see those two things, but apparently that difference from right there is like 249 samples, and it keeps the phase engaged. So basically what it's doing is it's taking your DI, direct input DI bass track, and it's taking your amp bass track, and it's analyzing those two things, and it's going, okay, this is late, this is early, let's shift those two things and make them play together at the same time, and if we need to flip the phase, we'll do that. So this is a mono signal, but you're dealing with two recordings of the exact same thing that are not phase and time aligned. So that's what these plugins are doing for you. And again, listen to the difference in how they sound. This is, I'll start unaligned, and you'll hear the warmth just really come into it, and the fatness into the bass when I turn this on. And again, these aren't huge differences, but when you're talking about, building up a mix over the course of an entire track, all of these little surgical things just make a huge difference. I already played you the Diablo mix. Okay, what else is on the... hey, did everybody know I'm giving away a distressor in 2 weeks? For real, for real. YouTube Mixing Night channel is giving away a real hardware distressor to one lucky winner next show, September 2nd. Tune in. Hey, check out the Mixing Night Discord channel. We have over 500 members now. It's just incredible. And every time I go in there, the thing that I am really, really loving about it is I'm seeing a real sense of community and people interacting and helping each other and giving each other feedback. And, you know, and my wish for the community is if you're there benefiting from it, just give a little bit back. You know, if somebody critiques your song or gives you some feedback on something, you know, give a little bit back and make sure that you're contributing and not just taking. I meant to show you earlier, so I'm going to pull it up now. When I just did these the other day, the background vocals on the GoaTBlud Diablo. And I wanted to show you, I mean, I'm not a great singer. I can basically sing mostly in key, but not really, really. I can sing harmonies well, but what I'm going to show you is when I did harmonies for this song, I didn't I retook a few tracks, but for the most part, it was, if I took 4 layers of something, it was four vocal takes. No tuning. The only thing I have is a little bit of compression and reverb. And this is what the whole cluster sounds like.
I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the she with the banyo. I'll be wasting time on you.
Nothing fancy. I didn't fix any of the tuning. I'm not a great singer. What you'll find is, I think it sounds bigger because of all of the little imperfections in it. And we're talking background vocals. I mean, you don't want them so out that you're really hearing it. But you can here's...
I put my faith in Diablo.
That's some pitchy shit right there.
Yes, I'm the she with the banyo. I'll be wasting time on you.
Super pitchy.
I put my faith in Diablo. I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the she with the banyo.
Oh, a lot of people ask, how do I stack this? So I did 4 of the root that GoaTBlud did. So I just wanted that melody line to really shine through. I only did 2 of the next one.
I put my faith in it.
And 3 of the next one, left, right, and center.
I put my faith in Diablo. I put my faith.
Again, pitchy as hell. And then low tracks, just 2 of these.
I put my faith in Diablo.
And here they all are together. And they don't sound out of tune or off or anything.
I put my faith in Diablo. Yes, I'm the she with the banyo. I'll be wasting time on you. But I put my faith in Diablo.
Hussein Hassanov on the chat roll asks, hey Ken, how do you EQ the low vocals in this stack? I think I'm not. I didn't. I'm not EQing anything. It's just a little bit of mild compression, and what you see is what you get. Now, of course, my vocal chain is well, actually, I use this microphone for my vocal because my C800 isn't here right now. It's with one of my artists. So, ribbon mic for vocals into a GrooveTube's Viper, into Thermionic Culture, the Phoenix, into the Clariphonic, into the Avid converters, and that's it. So that's how I tracked them. You know, a little bit of compression and EQ going in, not too much. They're a little bit dark. I don't want them so bright that they're overpowering the leads. I want this to be a vibe. It needs to feel like a group of people coming in. That's why I'm not fixing the tuning, and I'm not fixing the performances anymore. I want it a little bit loose so that things interact with each other. When you start using Autotune too much on background vocals, they start really becoming more samey and monoizing. Sometimes you want that. Sometimes you want really tight in-tune backgrounds, and sometimes you want them a little bit looser like I'm showing you here. All right, I'm going to go to Ajay Friese because I just thought this was the coolest shit. And then I may go to a Sprint mix or something else. I was going to play some stuff from the Doors tonight. I may just pull it up and let you hear Jim Morrison's vocal performance. I mean, total fucking rock star. All right. What was I doing? AJ. All right. I'm going to pull up the letter I got from AJ. So, AJ won a UVI Falcon II on one of our broadcasts. And here's what he did with it.
Got no lighter for my broken candle. My mind can't keep owing me. Lie awake and ripping my heart. Whoa. When I see
And you can see what he used on the Falcon in the email on the screen. 12 or 13 sounds all from the Falcon. This shit is awesome. This is a dude that won a contest on mixing night and made this with what he won on the contest. It's so fucking cool. This makes me so happy.
All the hurt I'm going through. When love turns to sulfate, it's hard to reclaim all the trust once inside. But all of that changes, rearranges when I see those eyes. Then I see your eyes embedded in my eyes.
Skip around a little bit. Man, so cool. Great job, AJ. Really incredible stuff. So again, they won the UVI Falcon II, and that's what he made with it. That just makes me so ridiculously happy. I hope whoever gets this distressor in 2 weeks mixes a fucking smash hit single with it and comes back, and I can interview him and have him tell me how it all happened. That would be the happiest thing for me. Period. I'm going to pull up the Doors just for a second because you got to hear this Jim Morrison vocal. It's no auto-tune. Listen to the vocal. The quality of the recording is incredible. And who on the chat can tell me what kind of reverb is being used?
You know that it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire.
Yeah, Rory, it sounds like a plate to me, but it might be a chamber. There's something that tells me it might be some concrete in there. Although I think I'm hearing two reverbs. I think I'm hearing one mono center reverb, and then one more stereo reverb. I don't know. Let's see if you can hear that.
You know that it would be.
But the other thing is, just listen to how badass and how fucking rock stars this performance is. It's in really great tune. I had really not enough of an appreciation of how great a singer Jim Morrison was, but how well in tune it was and how in the moment he is.
You know that it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, light my fire.
Amazing stuff. The other thing I wanted to play was the guitar. They keep the guitar filtered for almost the entire song. until the guitar solo. I thought that was really fascinating that they really underplayed a main member of the group up until it was his moment to shine. And the other thing that you see is the way they mix this. The drums are panned mostly left with the reverb in stereo. The guitar is panned mostly right. The bass is in the middle. The keys are panned right, and the vocals are in the middle. Listen to the full mix.
Come on, baby, light my fire. Try to set the night on fire.
Amazing. Okay. What should be my second sprint mix tonight? What does the chat roll want to see? Light it up and tell me and let me know, and I'll get to it. Let's see. I'm gonna answer a couple more questions, and then I'm gonna go to a sprint mix and wrap this shit up. Okay, let me find something to. Hey Ken, what does your vocal chain look like? Well, the one for that was that. I just broke it down. C800G is my main, Sony is my main vocal mic. Just an incredible microphone, but has gotten a little bit too pricey on the used market. I've had mine since the 90s, and it still sounds amazing. Royale asks, how can an artist make the vocal recording process easy for a mixer? Well, you can label your shit really well. Ooh, they said sprint mix too close to fire. Okay, you got it. Label your shit really well, and don't leave performance decisions to the mixer. Comp your vocals. Make sure your mixer has one lead vocal that they know is the lead, and that anything else around it, if there are support vocals going on, they should be labeled as support vocals, or whatever info you can give so that the mixer knows what's happening. Let me see if I can find the Too Close to Fire sprint mix. I don't know where it is. Well, I could do a search for sprint. Okay, I'm gonna try and split my brain. Come on. Nope. Aha, boom. I'll probably have to undo this, but all right. So the last show, I did a big breakdown of this song, Too Close to Fire. This is produced by Katalyst. Katalyst is me and Brent Colatalo. And Skrizzly Adams just put this out. It's got, I think it's around 1 million aggregate streams right now between YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music and all that shit. So it's doing pretty well. This is 100% independent. It's got a video on YouTube. So check it out. Go to Skrizzly and follow him on Spotify and YouTube and shit. Skrizzly Adams, Too Close to Fire. So, yeah, this is going to take me to right about 10 o'clock. And, man, I've been working so hard. It's a little frazzling. But it's great to be through another broadcast. I really love doing this. Me and Lori work so hard on the broadcast, but I feel like we get more out of it than we put into it, just in community. And I mean, fuck, the Discord's got 500 members. We got 3,000 people subscribing. So that's all awesome. I'm gonna shut up now and put my talent where my mouth is, and I'm gonna put on my old standby, the zipper. All right, people, thank you for hanging with me for another night. I really appreciate it. It's been a great night. I will see you in 2 weeks. Tell all your friends about that fucking distressor giveaway, because I'm throwing down with that shit, and it's got to mean something. So without further ado, Skrizzly Adams Sprint, Too Close to Fire. I'm going to have to undo. I'm not looking at my levels. Don't worry. It won't matter anyway. There's too much shit going on here to... Oops, I'm breaking the SSL at the same time. Okay. I hope the new camera has worked out. I don't know if Lori has used it at all, but we're trying to add a little bit to the show each time. Next week or 2 weeks from now is going to be bananas. Don't miss it. All right. We got 10 minutes on the clock, and Skrizzly Adams, Too Close to Fire. go.
That you move me just shakes me alive. I say, well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you.
I think I still have mix bus shit on here. Yep, I'm gonna get rid of all that. And I'm not gonna reset my time either, because that's not how the real world works.
Well, maybe the way that you move me just shakes me alive. I say, well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is best left alone. Besides the some wounds that holes, but it just feels so old. But you're not the one to just do what you're told, so you. Too close to fire. When you told me, yeah, welcome to crash and burn.
Okay, I feel like I'm really struggling. Cause everything's safe, just feels so old. But you're not the one, just do what you're told. Yeah, welcome to crash and burn. Cause every excuse keeps me reaching, but you make me wanna learn all that you left alone. Who says it's the rebellion so wrong? Cause everything's safe, just feels so old. But you're not the one, just do what you're told. So you, yeah, welcome to crash. Close to fire. See how I'm jumping around and working on section to section and making one section feel good or better, and then moving on, and then setting loops and you know, trying to compare and make sure that my transitions work.
You're not the one to just do what you're told, so you're not the one to just do what you're. Well, maybe the way that you move me just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough, because all that you want is best left alone. But it's hard to fly by. But you're not the one to just do what you're told, so we're close to fire. All the things that go wrong when we're sleeping with, and we somehow get along, and you feel like the phoenix that called out the song. Can't count all the things that go wrong when we're sleeping with, and we somehow get along, and you feel like the phoenix that called out the song. So I'm here with you singing. You're too close to fire. You're too close to fire. You're too close to fire. You're too close to fire.
That's Dominic. That's Dominic too.
You're too close to fire. Can't count all the things that go wrong when we're sleeping with, and we somehow get along, and you feel like the phoenix that.
That's it. Whew. All right. Skrizzly Adams, Too Close to Fire. Let's see if I made this thing sound like anything good at all. I think I did. We're going to close the night, and I'll just play the mix down. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Had a blast. Join us for mixing night September 2nd, Wednesday, 2 weeks from now, 8 to 10 p.m. We're giving away that hardware distressor. Tell your friends. Get your entries in. I'm going to have a big show, too. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to cook up some fire for that one. All right. Skrizzly Adams, Too Close to Fire. Speaking of which, this is Jedi Sprint August 19. All right. Online. I want to hear this shit. All right, 3 minutes, and ride this one out, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very much for joining me.
Well, maybe the way that you move me just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough, because all that you want is best left alone. But it's hard to fly by with some wings that got holes, but everything's safe, just feels so old. But you're not the one to just do what you're told, so you you're too close to fire. When you told me, yeah, to welcome the crash and burn, 'cause every excuse keeps me reaching, but you make me wanna learn that all that you want is best left alone. But who says the taste of rebellion's so wrong? 'Cause everything's safe, just feels so old, but you're not the one, just do what you're told, so you too close to fire. Can't count all the things that go wrong when we're sleeping with sin. We somehow get along, and you feel like a phoenix that called out the sun. So I'm right here